Mawusi knew something was wrong the second her foot touched the wet marble step. 1 second later, she was falling. In another, her pregnant body slammed violently against the staircase as blood spread beneath her dress. Crying, shaking, barely breathing, she crawled across the cold floor for her phone and called the only person she thought would save her, her husband. But when Minho finally answered, another woman was breathing beside him in bed.
Who is this?
I need to speak to Minho.
And while his wife begged him to save their baby, he said 4 words that destroyed her forever. Stop being dramatic. I'm busy. But that was not the worst thing he did, because weeks later, after Mawusi discovered her husband cheating through a restaurant window, and she wandered into traffic with tears in her eyes and woke up in complete darkness, blind, broken, trapped inside a mansion with the same man who betrayed her. At first, Minho played the perfect husband, holding her hand in hospitals, feeding her soup, promising never to leave her side. Then the mask slipped. He started bringing women into their matrimonial bed, while his blind wife sat awake in the next room, listening to everything. Every laugh, every whisper, every betrayal. And while Mawusi struggled through the darkness, Minho and his mother were planning something even crueler. They wanted her father's board seat, her company, her inheritance, her entire future. They called her unstable, broken, incompetent. Minho forged her signature, stole company money, and laughed to his friends that his blind wife was too dependent to fight back.
Few more months. Then I will have everything. The seat, the money, all of it.
And if she figures it out?
She won't. She is too broken. This is the easiest thing I have ever done.
But what nobody knew was that Mawusi could see again, and for 9 months she stayed blind on purpose, watching every lie, recording every crime, listening while the man who destroyed her slowly confessed everything right in front of her. Every stolen dollar, every mistress, every forged document, every plan to erase her from the company her father built. Then came the shareholders' meeting. Minho stood in front of the board with fake medical reports, ready to steal her seat forever. He thought his blind wife was too broken to fight back, too helpless to even walk without a cane. But in the middle of his speech, Mawusi slowly stood up, removed her dark glasses, pulled the fake contact lenses from her eyes, then walked across the boardroom without missing a single step. The entire room froze, and when she finally looked her husband in the face, after 9 months of pretending, she said the one sentence that made the blood drain from his body. The surgery restored my vision 9 months ago, and I have spent every single day watching you. Those words hit harder than a blow to his face. Before I show you how Mawusi's perfect marriage turned into a nightmare, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, and make sure you stay till the end. Because the way she exposed her husband in front of the entire boardroom was absolutely brutal. If you love emotional revenge stories with shocking twists like this, subscribe now, because the next story might be even crazier. Mawusi's hands would not stop shaking. She sat in front of the mirror while her cousin Amma tried for the 3rd time to fix the small flowers in her hair. The flowers kept slipping because Mawusi could not hold still. Breathe, Amma said. You look like you are about to jump out of a window. I feel like it. Good nervous or bad nervous? Mawusi looked at her reflection. The white dress fit perfectly. Her mother would have loved it, would have cried and taken 100 photos and called every single aunt back in Togo to describe it in detail. But her mother had been gone for 9 years now, and the empty chair in the corner of the room felt heavier than any person. I do not know, Mawusi said honestly. Foppa stopped fussing with the flowers and met her eyes in the mirror. You can still leave. I will tell everyone you got food poisoning. We will be on a plane tonight. Mawusi almost laughed. You are a terrible cousin. I am an honest cousin. That man downstairs is handsome and rich, and his family has enough money to buy a small country. but something about him makes me feel like I am watching a beautiful snake. Snakes are not all bad. The beautiful ones are usually the poisonous ones. Mawusi turned around to face her. Minho loves me. I know he does. Amma looked at her for a long moment, then sighed and kissed her forehead. Then I hope I am wrong. I really do. The wedding took place in a hotel in Seoul that Mawusi's father had picked out 6 months before he died. Her father had built his entire life around being careful. He had been a diplomat from Togo who married a Korean woman he met at a conference, and he had learned to move through 2 worlds without losing himself in either one. When Mawusi told him she wanted to marry Minho, he had been quiet for almost a full minute. Then he said, "Are you sure?" "Yes, Papa." "Has he given you a reason to be sure, or have you given yourself permission to hope?" Mawusi had not answered that. 3 weeks later, her father died of a heart attack in his office, and she never got to tell him he was right to ask. Now she stood at the end of a long aisle covered in white flowers and watched Minho wait for her at the front. He looked perfect, hair neat, suit perfect, smile bright and easy like he had been born, knowing how to make people feel comfortable. His mother sat in the front row, wearing enough jewelry to fund a village, and his father looked bored but present. On Mawusi's side sat 12 people, her cousin Amma, 2 aunts who had flown in from Lomé, some colleagues from the company, and Adiezi. Adiez sat in the second row, wearing a yellow dress that made her look like concentrated sunshine. She was Mawusi's only real friend in Seoul, half Korean and half Nigerian, a lawyer with a mind so sharp she could argue a storm into apologizing. When Mawusi walked past her, Adiez smiled, but her eyes were worried. The ceremony was short. Minho said his vows like he meant them. Mawusi said hers and believed them. When he kissed her, people clapped, and she told herself the tight feeling in her chest was just normal wedding anxiety. At the reception, Minho's mother pulled her aside near the bathroom. "You look lovely, dear," she said in Korean. Her smile was thin and polite, the kind people use when they are holding scissors behind their back. "Thank you, Mrs. Kang. I hope you understand that our family has certain expectations. Minho is our only son. We have worked very hard to give him the life he deserves." Mawusi nodded, not sure what to say. "Your position at the company? It is quite impressive for someone so young. Your father was a smart man." "Thank you. Of course, once you start having children, it might be difficult to manage both responsibilities, family and career. Most women find they have to choose." Mawusi felt something cold slide down her spine. "I think I can manage both." "Of course you think that now," Minho's mother said, patting her arm. "You are young, but marriage teaches us many things about what truly matters." She walked away before Mawusi could respond. Adiezi found her 10 minutes later standing outside on the balcony trying to breathe properly. "What happened?" Adiezi asked. "Nothing. His mother was just being, I do not know, motherly, I guess. That woman is about as motherly as a tax audit." Mawusi laughed despite herself. "Stop it. I am serious. Did you see how she looked at you during the ceremony? Like you were a stain she was trying to figure out how to remove. You are imagining things. I am a lawyer. I get paid to notice things." Adiez moved closer, lowering her voice. "Mawusi, listen to me, I love you. You are my best friend, so I need to say this even though I know you do not want to hear it. That man in there, he is not good enough for you. You do not know him like I do. Maybe that is exactly the problem. Maybe you know a version of him that he performs just for you." Mawusi shook her head. "Why are you doing this, today of all days? Because after today, it gets harder to leave." "I am not leaving. I love him." Adiezi looked sad then, the kind of sad that comes from watching someone walk toward a cliff and not being able to stop them. Okay. I will say nothing else, but promise me something." "What?" "If you ever need me, anytime, any reason, you will call me. Even if it is 3 in the morning, even if you think I will judge you, you will call." "I promise." They hugged, and Mawusi went back inside to her new husband, who was laughing with his friends and did not notice she had been gone. The first 6 months of marriage felt like living inside a photograph. Everything looked perfect from the outside. Minho bought her flowers every Friday. They went to nice restaurants where everyone knew his name. He introduced her as my brilliant wife at company events and took her hand in front of his colleagues. But photographs do not show what happens when the camera turns off. At home, Minho watched what she wore. Not in an obvious way. He would just look at her outfit and say things like, "Is that what you are wearing?" Or, "I thought you looked better in the blue dress." Or, "That color makes you look tired." After a while, Mawusi stopped choosing her own clothes. It was easier. He also had opinions about her work. Mawusi held a seat on the board of the Kim family company, a position her father had earned through years of partnership and smart investments. When he died, the seat passed to her. At 28, she was the youngest board member and the only woman. She had ideas, good ones, but whenever she mentioned them at dinner, Minho would smile and say, "Maybe you should run that past me first, before the meeting. I can help you word it better." Or, "That is interesting, but the board might not be ready for such a big change." Or, "Let me handle this one. You focus on the smaller projects." She told herself he was trying to help, that he knew the board better than she did. That marriage meant being a team. The board meeting in October changed something. Mawusi had spent 3 weeks preparing a proposal for expanding their partnerships into West Africa. She knew the market, she knew the culture, she knew exactly how to make it work. She presented her plan to the board with charts and data and a confidence that came from knowing she was right. The board loved it. They asked questions, she answered them. They nodded and took notes. By the end, even the oldest board member, Mr. Cho, who never agreed with anyone about anything, said, "This is excellent work." Mawusi felt like she could fly. After the meeting, she went to the bathroom. When she came back, she heard Minho's voice in the hallway talking to some investors. "Yes, it was my idea originally," he was saying. Mawusi helped with some of the research, but the core strategy came from conversations I have been having for months. She did a good job presenting it, though. I have been coaching her. Mawusi stood very still. One of the investors laughed. "You are a lucky man, having a wife who can handle the boring detail work." "She is very thorough," Minho agreed. Mawusi walked past them without stopping. Minho called after her, but she kept walking. She went down to the parking garage and sat in her car with the engine off and told herself she had misheard, that he had not just stolen credit for 3 weeks of her work, that her husband would not do that. But she knew what she heard. That evening, Adaze called to congratulate her on the presentation. Word had spread fast. "You were brilliant," Adaze said. "Everyone is talking about it. Minho is taking credit for it." Silence on the other end. "Did you hear me?" Mawusi asked. "I heard you. I am just deciding whether to say I told you so or to come over there and set his car on fire." "Please do not set his car on fire. Then I will go with option 1. I told you so. That is not helpful. Neither is lying to you." Adaze's voice softened. "What are you going to do?" "I do not know. Talk to him, I guess." "And say what?" "Please stop stealing my work, honey." "What else am I supposed to do?" "You could leave. We have been married for 6 months. And he is already erasing you. What do you think year 2 looks like?" Mawusi did not have an answer for that. When she got home, Minho was in a good mood. He had stopped for takeout, her favorite noodles from the place near his office. He kissed her cheek and asked about her day like nothing had happened. "I heard you in the hallway," Mawusi said, "after the meeting, telling those investors the Africa expansion was your idea." Minho did not even look uncomfortable. "I was simplifying. They do not need to know all the details about who did what. We are married. Your work is my work. That is not how it works. Why are you upset? The proposal got approved. That is what matters." You lied. I positioned things strategically. That is business. He set down his chopsticks and looked at her with something like disappointment. You are brilliant with ideas, but you do not understand politics yet. I was protecting you. From what? From being seen as aggressive, from making the old board members uncomfortable. They are not used to women pushing hard for things. If they think it came from me, they accept it easier. I did you a favor. The scary thing was, he seemed to believe it. Mawusi went to bed early and lay awake wondering when she had become someone who accepted lies as favors. 3 months later, she met Eze for lunch at a restaurant in Itaewon, far enough from the office that no one would see them. Adaze took one look at her and said, "You look tired." "I am fine, you are lying." The server came and they ordered. Mawusi got soup she did not want, just to have something to do with her hands. When they were alone again, Adaze leaned forward. "Talk to me." "There is nothing to talk about. He is still taking credit for your work." It was not a question. "We are a team," Mawusi said, and hated how empty it sounded. Teams do not have one person who pretends the other person is invisible. It is not that bad. Then why do you look like someone who is trying to convince herself of something? Mawusi stared at her soup. "I love him. I know you do. That is what makes this so hard to watch. He loves me too." Adaze was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Does he love you, or does he love having you? Because those are two completely separate things." "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means he loves that you are brilliant enough to make him look good. He loves that you have a board seat he can use. He loves that you are beautiful and accomplished and make him seem more important. But does he love you, the actual you, the woman sitting in front of me, who is disappearing a little more every time I see her? You do not understand. Then help me understand." Mawusi could not. "How do you explain that some mornings Minho brought her coffee in bed, exactly how she liked it? That he remembered her father's birthday and put flowers on his grave? That sometimes, when he looked at her, she could see the man she fell in love with, the one who seemed kind and steady and safe? How do you explain that you are living in the gap between who someone is and who you need them to be?" "I am just tired," Mawusi said finally. "Work has been busy." Adaze did not believe her, but she let it go, and they finished lunch talking about safer things. 4 months later, Mawusi stood in her bathroom, holding a pregnancy test, and cried so hard she had to sit down on the floor. She was 12 weeks along. She had been tired and dizzy and thought it was stress, but then she missed her period twice and finally bought a test on the way home from work, hiding it in her purse like contraband. Now she sat on the cold tile and looked at the 2 pink lines and felt something open up inside her chest. Joy and terror in equal measure. She called her mother's old phone number. It had been disconnected for years, but sometimes she just needed to hear the recorded message. "The number you have reached is no longer in service." "Mama," she whispered to no one, "I am going to be a mother too. I wish you were here." She sat there until her legs went numb, one hand pressed to her stomach, where something impossibly small was growing. Her child, hers and Minho's. Maybe this would fix things. Maybe a baby would remind him of what mattered. Maybe she would stop feeling like she was slowly being erased. She told Adaze first the next day over the phone. "Oh," Adaze said, and Mawusi could hear her trying to find the right words. "How do you feel?" "Scared. Happy. I do not know." "Have you told him yet?" "Not yet. I want it to be special." "Mawusi, I know what you are going to say." "Do you? You are going to tell me a baby will not fix anything." "I was actually going to say congratulations, and then ask if you are safe." "Safe from what?" "From him, from his family, from the version of your life you are building that keeps getting smaller." "I am fine. Promise me you will be careful." "I promise." But Mawusi did not know what she was promising to be careful of. That evening, she cooked Minho's favorite meal, kimchi jjigae, the recipe his mother had taught her during one of the rare moments the woman had been almost kind. It took 2 hours, and the kitchen got so hot, Mawusi had to open all the windows. But she wanted everything to be perfect. She set the table with candles. She put on the blue dress he liked. She waited. Minho came home at 9, 3 hours late. He looked surprised to see dinner ready. "What is this?" he asked. "I made your favorite. I already ate. I told you I had a work dinner." He had not told her. She checked her phone to be sure. No message. "Oh, I must have forgotten." He loosened his tie and sat down anyway. "I can eat a little, I guess." They ate in silence for a few minutes. Mawusi kept touching her stomach under the table, gathering courage. "I have something to tell you," she finally said. Minho looked up from his phone. "I am pregnant." For just a second, half a second maybe, something crossed his face. It was not happiness. It was not even surprise. It was something else. Something that made Mawusi's hands go cold. Then he smiled. He stood up and came around the table and kissed her forehead. "That is wonderful," he said. "This is really wonderful. You are happy?" "Of course I am happy. This is big news." But his eyes were already somewhere else. "I should call my mother," he said. "She will want to know." "Can we wait just a little while? I want to get past the first trimester before we tell everyone." "Right, yes, that makes sense." He sat back down and picked up his phone. "I just need to make a quick call. Work thing. I will be right back." He went into the bathroom and closed the door. Mawusi sat at the table and listened to the low murmur of his voice through the door. She could not make out words, but she could hear the tone. It did not sound like a work call. He was in there for 43 minutes. She knew because she watched the clock on the wall and counted every minute. When he came out, his face was calm and blank. "Sorry about that," he said. "Crisis at work on a Tuesday night? You know how it is." She did not know, but she nodded. He said he was tired and went to bed. Mawusi cleaned the kitchen alone, for the food mostly uneaten, her news sitting in the room, like something heavy and unwanted. That night, she lay in bed next to her husband and put her hand on her stomach and made a promise to the tiny life inside her. "I will protect you," she whispered. "No matter what, I will keep you safe." She did not know then how badly she would fail. The next 3 months passed like a dream. Mawusi's body changed in small ways, a slight curve to her belly, tiredness that pressed down on her like a weight, mornings where she could barely move without feeling sick. Minho was kind sometimes. He brought her ginger tea when she felt nauseous. He told her to rest more. But he was also gone more often. Work dinners that ran late, weekend meetings, calls he took in the other room with the door closed. Mawusi told herself it was normal, that men handled pregnancy differently, that he was probably just scared and dealing with it in his own way. At 16 weeks, they heard the heartbeat, fast and strong like a tiny drum. Mawusi cried. Minho held her hand and smiled, but he checked his phone twice during the appointment. At 18 weeks, she felt the first flutter of movement. Like a butterfly trapped inside her, she grabbed Minho's hand and pressed it to her stomach. "Did you feel that?" He had not, but he said he did. At 19 weeks, she came home early from a doctor's appointment to find all the household staff gone. The apartment was empty and quiet. She called for the housekeeper, Mrs. Lee. No answer. She checked the kitchen, the laundry room, everywhere. No one. She texted Minho. "Where is everyone?" His reply came fast. "Gave them the day off. They have been working hard. Relax." Something about it felt wrong, but Mawusi could not explain why. She moved through the empty apartment carefully, one hand always on her belly. At 20 weeks pregnant, she was aware of every step, every turn, constantly protecting the small life inside her. She went downstairs to make tea. The marble staircase was one of Minho's favorite features of the apartment. Imported in Italian marble, he had told her proudly when they moved in. Beautiful and cold and slippery when wet. Mawusi held the railing like always. She took each step slowly. On the 4th step from the bottom, Her foot hit something wet. Later she would wonder about that. Wonder if it was an accident. Wonder if someone had mopped and forgotten to dry the steps. Wonder if it was something else entirely. But, in the moment, she only had time to feel her foot slide out from under her. She tried to catch herself, twisted her body, trying to protect her stomach, reached for the railing and missed. The fall happened fast and slow at the same time. She hit the steps hard, her shoulder first, then her hip. She tumbled and tried to curl around her belly, but physics did not care what she wanted. She landed at the bottom in a crumpled pile of limbs and pain. For a second, she could not breathe. Then the pain came, sharp and wrong, and centered in her abdomen. She reached for her phone. It had fallen 3 steps above her. She crawled toward it, her hands shaking so badly she could barely move. She got the phone, dropped it, picked it up again, called Minho. It rang and rang. Then someone answered, a woman's voice, lazy and half asleep. "Who is this?" the woman said. In the background, Mawusi could hear sounds. A television, laughter, the rustle of sheets. "I need to talk to Minho," Mawusi said. Her voice sounded strange, far away. There was shuffling, whispers. Then Minho's voice came on, sharp and annoyed. "What?" "I fell down the stairs. I am bleeding. Please come home." Silence. Then, "Stop being dramatic. I am busy." "Minho, please, the baby. You are fine. You are always fine. Stop disturbing me." He hung up. Mawusi lay on the marble floor and stared at the ceiling. She called Adaize. Adaize answered on the first ring. "Hey, what's up?" "I need help." Mawusi's voice broke. "Please, I need help." "Where are you?" "Home. I fell. There is blood. I am calling an ambulance right now. Stay on the phone with me. Do not move." "The baby." I know. Help is coming." "I am coming too. Just hold on." Mawusi lay there and counted her breaths because it was the only thing she could control. 1, 2, 3. She could hear a Daisy on the phone with emergency services, giving the address, saying words like pregnant and fell and bleeding. 4, 5, 6. Time moved strangely. She kept counting. 37, 38, 39. The ambulance arrived at 47 minutes. A Daisy got there 62 minutes after the first call, having run out of court in the middle of a hearing and driven like the world was ending. She found Mawusi already loaded into the ambulance, an oxygen mask on her face, a paramedic checking her vital signs. "I am her emergency contact," Adaize lied, climbing in before anyone could stop her. "I am coming with her." She held Mawusi's hand the whole way to the hospital. At the hospital, a doctor with kind eyes and gentle hands did an ultrasound. She moved the wand over Mawusi's stomach slowly, carefully. She looked at the screen for a long time. Then she turned off the machine. "I am very sorry," she said. Just those 4 words. Mawusi turned her face to the wall and said nothing at all. A Daisy stayed with her through everything. The procedures, the paperwork, the long empty hours in the hospital room where Mawusi said nothing. And stared at nothing and felt nothing. Because feeling anything would have broken her into pieces, too small to ever put back together. Minho arrived 6 hours after the fall. He came with flowers, white lilies that smelled like funerals. A nurse saw him in the hallway and said something about how devoted he looked, how upset. Mawusi heard this through the open door and wanted to laugh, but had forgotten how. He came into the room and sat in the chair beside her bed. His eyes were red. He had been crying, or he had made himself look like he had been crying. Mawusi was no longer sure which. "I am so sorry," he said, taking her hand. She did not pull away. She did not have the energy. "The doctor said you fell down the stairs." "Yes. Why were you on the stairs alone? Where was Mrs. Lee?" "You sent everyone home." "I gave them the day off. That is not the same as sending them away. You should have called someone to help you." Mawusi turned her head to look at him. "I called you. I was in a meeting. A woman answered your phone. My assistant. There was a conference call. She sounded like she was in bed." Minho's face changed. Not much, just the tightening around his eyes. "You are upset. You are not thinking clearly. This is a terrible situation and you need to rest. I told you I was bleeding. And I thought you were overreacting. You have been emotional lately. The pregnancy hormones. There is no pregnancy anymore. The words came out flat and dead. Minho squeezed her hand. I know, and I am devastated. But you need to take responsibility too. The doctor said you should have been more careful. You were always so independent, always insisting on doing things yourself. This is what happens. Mawusi stared at him. This man she had married. This man whose child she had just lost. You are blaming me, she said. I am not blaming you. I am saying we both need to learn from this. You need to accept help. You need to be less stubborn. A nurse came in then to check Mawusi's vitals. Minho stood up and wiped his eyes, and the nurse gave him a sympathetic look. You can go home, Mawusi said. I am fine. I want to stay with you. I want to be alone. He looked hurt. Performed hurt so well the nurse frowned at Mawusi like she was being cruel. I will come back tomorrow, Minho said. He kissed her forehead, that same gesture that used to mean tenderness, and now just felt like a signature on a contract. Then he left. The nurse finished her checks as left too. A Daisy, who had been standing in the corner quiet as a shadow, came and sat in the chair Minho had abandoned. Say the word, a Daisy said. One word and I will help you leave him. Tonight. Right now. We will disappear and he will never find you. Mawusi closed her eyes. I cannot lose the baby and my marriage in the same week. I cannot. Please do not ask me to. You did not lose the baby. That baby died because he dismissed you when you called for help. Stop. He let you bleed on the floor for 47 minutes. Stop it. Mawusi, he does not love you. I said stop. Her voice broke. Please, just stop. A days went quiet. She took Mawusi's hand and held it, and said nothing else. They released Mawusi 2 days later. A Daisy wanted her to come stay at her apartment, but Mawusi said no. She went home to the marble staircase, and the empty rooms, and the husband, who was sometimes there and sometimes not. The next weeks blurred together. Mawusi moved through the apartment like a ghost. She stopped going to board meetings, stopped answering calls, stopped doing anything that required her to be a person. Minho was kind in bursts. He brought her soup. He asked how she was feeling. But mostly he was absent, and Mawusi told herself that grief looked different for everyone, that he was processing the loss in his own way. She made excuses for him, the way you make excuses for a broken thing you are not ready to throw away. A Days called every day, came over twice a week, watched Mawusi shrink into smaller and smaller versions of herself, and could do nothing to stop it. You are disappearing, a Daisy said one afternoon. They were sitting in the living room drinking tea that had gone cold an hour ago. I am just tired. You are giving up pieces of yourself to keep him comfortable. Do you even go to work anymore? I will go back when I am ready. When will that be? I do not know. He is erasing you. He is my husband. That is not an answer. Mawusi set down her tea. What do you want me to say? That you were right? That I should have listened to you? Fine. You were right. I should have seen what he was, but I did not, and now I am here, and I do not have the strength to burn down my entire life just because you think I should. Adeze looked at her for a long moment. I do not want you to burn down your life. I want you to save it. But Mawusi did not know how to do that anymore. 6 months crawled by. Mawusi forced herself back to work eventually, moving through board meetings like she was underwater. She spoke when spoken to. She nodded at the right times. She had become exactly what Minho wanted, a wife who took up less space. She told herself she was healing. Really, she was just learning to disappear. One evening in November, she left a board meeting and walked home instead of calling a driver. It was cold and getting dark, but she needed air, needed movement, needed something other than the silence of the apartment. She walked through the streets of Seoul, watching people live their lives, couples holding hands, families with children. An old woman selling roasted chestnuts on a corner, her hands moving with the practiced ease of someone who had done the same thing for 50 years. Mawusi walked without direction and ended up in a restaurant district she did not recognize. She was about to turn back when she saw him. Minho, through the window of a restaurant, sitting at a table with a woman. Not a business dinner. Mawusi knew what those looked like. This was something else. The woman was young and pretty and laughing at something Minho said. He leaned forward and touched her hand, his fingers, covering hers in a gesture that was familiar and intimate and absolutely not professional. He smiled at this woman the way he used to smile at Mawusi in the beginning when he was still performing love. Mawusi stood on the sidewalk and people moved around her like water around a stone. She watched her husband with another woman, and something inside her just stopped. Not broke, stopped. Like a machine that had been running for too long and finally gave up. She did not cry. She did not feel anger. She felt nothing at all. She turned and walked away. She did not know where she was going, did not look at street signs or traffic lights, just walked and thought about nothing and everything. What am I doing? She thought. What have I been doing with my life? She stepped off a curb without looking. The car hit her from the left side. There was a moment of flight, strange and weightless, then impact, then nothing. When Mawusi woke up, everything was black. She tried to open her eyes. They were already open. She blinked. Nothing changed. Just darkness thick and complete. Panic hit her like a fist. She tried to sit up and someone pressed her back down. Stay still, a voice said. A woman. A nurse maybe. You are in the hospital. You were in an accident. I cannot see. I know. The doctor will explain. Just try to stay calm. But calm was impossible. Mawusi reached for her face, touching her eyes, feeling them open and close beneath her fingers. They worked, they moved, but they showed her nothing. A doctor came in. She heard his footsteps, heard him pick up a chart. Mrs. Kang, I am Dr. Park. You were hit by a car. You have some bruising and a mild concussion, but the main concern is your vision. You have trauma to the optic nerve combined with what we believe is a psychological response to the accident. Your brain has essentially shut down your sight as a protective measure. Will it come back? Maybe. Some patients recover fully. Others do not. We will need to monitor you closely. How long? It is hard to say. Weeks, months, possibly longer. Mawusi lay in the dark and tried to breathe. Minho came to visit. She heard his voice before she heard his footsteps, talking to a nurse in the hallway about how worried he was, how devoted. What a tragedy. He came in and took her hand, and for the first 2 weeks he was everything she had ever wanted him to be. He read to her. He brought her food and helped her eat when her hands shook too badly. He slept in the chair beside her bed and told her everything would be okay. Mawusi wanted so badly to believe him that she almost did. They sent her home with a white cane and instructions and a follow-up appointment in 3 weeks. Minho guided her up the stairs, the same marble stairs she had fallen down 6 months ago, and she moved carefully, one hand on his arm, counting steps. The apartment felt different in darkness, bigger, full of edges and corners she had never noticed. Minho was patient those first weeks. He moved things so she would not trip. He told her when there were steps. He brought her tea and sat with her in the evenings. Then something changed. She noticed it slowly. The way he started coming home later. The way his voice on the phone in the next room got quieter, more secretive. He thought she could not see him, so she would not notice other things. But blind did not mean stupid. One night, she heard him bring someone into the apartment. A woman. Their voices were low, but not low enough. Footsteps going to the bedroom. The door closing. Mawusi sat in the guest room where she had been sleeping since coming home from the hospital. Minho had said it was so. He would not disturb her rest. Now she understood it was so. She would not disturb his. She heard sounds through the wall. Laughter. Movement. The specific sounds of 2 people who were not strangers. She sat very still in her darkness and felt something inside her that had been soft and forgiving turn, hard and cold as stone. The next morning, Minho made her breakfast like nothing had happened. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. "Yes," she lied. "Good. I have meetings all day, but I will be home for dinner." Another lie. She was learning to hear them now. After he left, she sat at the kitchen table and thought about the woman she used to be. The one who made excuses, the one who stayed, the one who kept believing that love could survive on hope alone. That woman was gone. Minho's mother started visiting every day. She would let herself in with the spare key and sit beside Mawusi and talk in a voice that was pleasant and poisonous in equal measure. "You have become such a burden on my poor son," she said one afternoon. They were in the living room. Mawusi could hear traffic outside, could smell the tea Mrs. Kang had made for herself, but not for Mawusi. "I am sorry," Mawusi said, because it was easier than arguing. "Of course you are sorry, but sorry does not change the situation. You cannot work. You cannot take care of the house. You cannot even take care of yourself. I am learning. Learning takes time, and we do not have time. There are decisions that need to be made about your position at the company." Mawusi went very still. "What kind of decisions?" "Your board seat. It carries significant responsibility, too much for someone in your condition. We have been discussing transferring it to someone more capable. That seat belonged to my father, and now it belongs to you, but you are not fit to use it. These things happen. No one is blaming you. We just want what is best for everyone." "By everyone you mean your family." Mrs. Kang's voice cooled. "I mean the company. Minho has been working so hard to cover for your absence. It is only fair that he receive some recognition for that. He wants my seat. He wants what is best for the family. You are part of this family now. Or have you forgotten?" She had not forgotten. She was just starting to understand what being part of this family actually meant. After Mrs. Kang left, Mawusi called Adaize. "They are trying to take my board seat," she said. Adaize swore in 3 languages. "Can they do that? I do not know. Maybe, if they declare me incompetent." "You are not incompetent. You are blind. Those are completely different things." "Try telling them that." "I will tell them that, and several other things. Let me make some calls. A day's wait." "What?" "I need to see again first." Silence on the other end. "The doctor said it might not be possible," Adaize said carefully. "Then find me different doctors." 3 weeks later, Adaize drove Mawusi to a private clinic in Daegu, 3 hours from Seoul. Mawusi had told Minho she was going to a rehabilitation facility for 2 weeks. He had seemed relieved to have her gone. The specialist was a woman named Dr. Shin who spoke quickly and did not waste words. "Your optic nerve has healed significantly," she said after the examination. "The continued blindness is primarily psychological at this point. Your brain experienced severe trauma. First from the miscarriage, then from the accident. It shut down your vision as a protective response and has not turned it back on." "Can you fix it?" Mawusi asked. "Surgery combined with therapy. Yes, I believe we can restore your vision, but I cannot guarantee it will work." "What are the chances?" 70%, maybe higher. "Do it." Adaize took her hand. "The cost is significant. I do not care about the cost. Do it." The surgery happened 3 days later. Mawusi went under anesthesia thinking about all the things she needed to see clearly, not just with her eyes. She woke up with bandages wrapped around her head. Could not tell if it had worked. Spent 3 days in darkness, wondering if this darkness would be permanent. On the 4th day, Dr. Shin came to remove the bandages. "Ready?" she asked. Mawusi nodded because she could not speak. The bandages came off slowly, layer after layer of gauze. Then Dr. Shin's voice, gentle. "Open your eyes." Mawusi opened them. Light, shapes, colors, the ceiling, Dr. Shin's face, a daisy standing in the corner with her hand over her mouth. "I can see," Mawusi whispered. Then she started crying and could not stop for 3 hours. Not from joy, though joy was there. From grief for all the months of darkness. From relief so intense it hurt. From fear of what came next. A daze held her and let her cry and said nothing, because there was nothing to say. When Mawusi could finally speak again, she looked at Adeze and said, "I want to go home, are you sure? I want to go home and watch." "Watch what?" "Everything. I want to see everything he thinks I cannot see." They planned it carefully, Doctor. Shin provided special contact lenses that would make Mawusi's eyes look damaged, clouded over like they were still healing wrong. Mawusi kept her dark glasses, kept her cane, practiced moving through the clinic, exactly like someone who could not see. When she went home a week later, Minho picked her up from the train station. She wore her dark glasses and held her cane and let him guide her to the car. He talked about how the rehabilitation facility had called with good reports, how proud he was that she was trying so hard, how they would get through this together. Mawusi said very little. Behind her dark glasses, she watched everything. She saw him check his phone 6 times on the drive home, saw him smile at a text message, saw the way he looked at her when he thought she could not see him, a mixture of impatience and calculation. At home, he helped her inside and asked if she needed anything. She said she was tired and wanted to rest. He seemed relieved. "I have a work thing tonight," he said. "Will you be okay alone?" "Yes, I am used to it now." He kissed her forehead and left. Mawusi waited until she heard his car pull away. Then she took off her glasses and looked around the apartment. She had lived in blind for 7 months. She walked through every room, touched everything, saw it all clearly for the first time in what felt like years. In Minho's office, she turned on his computer. He had not bothered to log out. Why would he? His blind wife could not see the screen. She saw everything: email chains about transferring her board seat, financial records showing money being moved to accounts she did not recognize, a folder labeled "New Development" that was actually correspondence with his lawyer about having her declared mentally incompetent. She took pictures of everything with a camera a Daisy had given her, careful, methodical, thorough. In his desk drawer she found receipts, hotels, restaurants, jewelry she had never received, all dated from the past 7 months, all charged to their joint account. She photographed those too. When she heard his car return 4 hours later, she was back in the guest room, glasses on, cane beside the bed, lying in the dark like someone who could not see. Minho checked on her. She pretended to be asleep. He closed the door quietly and went to his own room. Mawusi lay awake all night planning. The next weeks fell into a rhythm. During the day, Minho went to work, and she played the part of the blind wife. She moved carefully through the apartment. She asked for help with small things. She sat by the window and tilted her face toward the sun, like she was trying to remember what light felt like. When he was gone, she watched everything. She saw him on video calls with his mother, discussing the timeline for taking her board seat, saw him transfer company money to a shell corporation registered to a woman named Yuna, the same woman from the restaurant, the same woman whose voice she had heard through the bedroom wall. She saw him forge her signature on documents, watched him practice it on scrap paper until he got it right. One Sunday morning, she sat at the breakfast table with her dark glasses on and her cane resting against her chair. Minho was in the next room on a video call with a friend. He had left the door open because why would it matter? She could not see. She heard him before she saw him, heard him say, "Hold on, let me show you something funny." She turned her head slightly, just enough to see through the doorway. Minho was holding his phone up, showing his friend the view into the kitchen. Showing Mawusi sitting at the table, he made a face, imitating her careful movements, waved his hand in front of his own eyes like he was blind. His friend laughed. "How much longer?" the friend asked. "Few more months," Minho said. "Then I will have everything. The seat, the money, all of it. She will be too dependent to fight back." And if she does fight, she will not. She is too broken. This is the easiest thing I have ever done. Mawusi sipped her tea. Her hand did not shake. Her face did not change. Inside, she felt nothing but ice and clarity. She pulled out her phone, still sitting at the table where he thought she could not see, and texted Daisy. I am ready. Set the meeting. The shareholders' meeting was scheduled for a Thursday in April. Mawusi noticed the date when Minho mentioned it. Thursday. The same day of the week she had lost the baby. The same day her whole life had started breaking apart. She said nothing about the coincidence. The days before the meeting, Minho was nervous in a way she had never seen. He brought her tea. He asked multiple times if she would be okay at home alone during the meeting. I will be fine, she said. I am always fine alone. He missed the edge in her voice. The morning of the meeting, Minho helped her get dressed. She let him choose her clothes like she had let him choose everything for years. A simple dress, flat shoes. He put her dark glasses in her hand and kissed her forehead. I will be home late, he said. This is an important meeting. I know. Everything is going to change today. Yes, Mawusi said. It is. He left. She waited exactly 12 minutes. Then she changed clothes, put on a suit she had not worn in over a year, did her makeup carefully, put the contact lenses in last, the ones that made her eyes look damaged and wrong, put her dark glasses over them. Adiez picked her up 30 minutes later. Are you ready? Adiez asked. I have been ready for months. The boardroom was on the 15th floor of the Kim family building. Mawusi had not been there in over a year. Adiez guided her in, playing the part of the helpful friend, and Mawusi played the part of the blind woman who needed guidance. The room went quiet when they entered. Mawusi could feel everyone staring. Behind her dark glasses, she looked back. The table was full, all 12 board members, several investors, Minho's parents at the far end, and Minho at the head of the table, standing in front of a presentation screen, looking confident and prepared. His confidence faltered slightly when he saw her. Mawusi, what are you doing here? I am a board member, she said quietly. I belong here. I know, but I thought with your condition, this might be too stressful. I can listen even if I cannot see. He recovered quickly, smiled. Of course, please sit. Adiz guided her to a chair at the far end of the table. Mawusi sat, placed her cane beside her, folded her hands in her lap. Behind her dark glasses, she watched Minho begin his presentation. Minho cleared his throat and began talking. His voice was smooth and practiced, the voice of someone who had rehearsed this many times. Thank you all for being here today, he said. We are gathered to discuss a difficult but necessary matter concerning one of our board positions. He clicked to the first slide. Mawusi could see it perfectly. A photo of her father, then a photo of her on the day she joined the board. My wife Mawusi has served this company with dedication, Minho continued. But as you all know, she has faced significant health challenges over the past year. Challenges that have made it impossible for her to fulfill her duties. He clicked again. Medical terminology filled the screen. Words like trauma and incapacitation and permanent damage. She can no longer see. She can no longer work independently. She requires constant assistance with basic daily tasks. It is not fair to her or to this company to expect her to carry the burden of a board position in her condition. Several board members nodded. Mr. Cho looked sympathetic. Mrs. Kang sat perfectly still, a small smile on her lips. I propose, Minho said, that we transfer her board seat to family management, temporarily of course, until such time as she recovers, if she recovers. He paused for effect. I have taken the liberty of preparing the necessary paperwork. All we need is a vote. Silence filled the room, the kind of silence that comes before something ends. Into that silence, Mawusi stood up, every head turned toward her. She reached up slowly and removed her dark glasses, folded them carefully, set them on the table in front of her. Then she reached for her eyes. Several people gasped. thinking she was about to hurt herself. Instead, she touched her finger to her eye and removed the contact lens. Then, the other one, set them both on the table beside the glasses. Her eyes were clear, perfect, undamaged. She picked up her cane, looked at it for a long moment like she was saying goodbye to something, set it down. Then she walked. Not the careful shuffle of someone who could not see. She walked straight and confident, the full length of the boardroom, past 12 chairs and 20 years of corporate history. She walked like someone who knew exactly where she was going. She stopped directly in front of her husband. The room was so quiet she could hear someone breathing too fast. It might have been Minho. She looked at him. This man she had loved past every warning. This man whose child she had carried and lost. This man who had let her bleed on a marble floor for 47 minutes, and then blamed her for it. She felt almost nothing. The feeling had done its work. It had kept her alive through the pretending. It was finished now. She turned to face the room. The surgery restored my vision 9 months ago, she said. Her voice carried clearly. I have spent those 9 months watching. Minho made a sound like he had been punched. Mawusi kept her eyes on the board. I watched my husband steal from this company. I watched him forge my signature. I watched him plan to have me declared incompetent so he could take everything my father built. That is not true, Minho said, but his voice was shaking. She is confused. The accident affected her mind. She does not know what she is saying. Adais, Mawusi said. Adais stood up from her seat at the back of the room. She walked forward, carrying a briefcase that looked heavy. She set it on the table and opened it. I am here today as legal counsel, Adais said. What I am about to present is documentation of fraud, embezzlement and conspiracy, all notarized, all admissible in court. She pulled out the first folder and handed it to Mr. Cho. Wire transfer records showing that Kang Minho moved 2.3 million won from company accounts to a shell corporation registered under the name Yuna Park. Miss Park is his girlfriend. The transfers happened over 8 months, always in amounts small enough to avoid immediate detection. Mr. Cho opened the folder. His face went hard. Adais handed another folder to the board member beside him. Signature analysis, comparing Mawusi's real signature to the signatures on 17 company documents filed during her supposed incapacitation. The forgeries are obvious once you know to look. Another folder, recorded phone conversations between Minho and his mother, discussing the timeline for having Mawusi declared mentally incompetent. Dates, times, full transcripts. Another folder, hotel receipts and phone records documenting Minho's relationship with Yuna Park. This is relevant because the marriage contract, which was written by the Kang family lawyer, includes a fidelity clause. Violation of that clause means immediate divorce and forfeiture of any claim to spousal assets. She pulled out one more folder. This one she held for a moment before speaking. Medical records from the night Mawusi lost their child. She was 4 months pregnant. She fell down the stairs in their home. All household staff had been dismissed that morning by Minho. She called him for help. He did not answer. A woman named Yuna Park answered his phone instead. When Minho finally took the call, he told his bleeding pregnant wife to stop disturbing him and hung up. She lay on the floor for 47 minutes before the ambulance arrived. By then the baby was gone. The room was completely silent now. Adiezi set the folder down. The medical report includes timestamps. Phone records show Minho was at the Grand Hotel with Yuna Park. He did not arrive at the hospital until 6 hours after his wife was admitted. Minho's mother stood up. This is ridiculous. My son would never. Your son, Adiezi said calmly, spent the last year systematically destroying his wife while stealing from the company that trusted him. We have evidence of everything. Cameras, recordings, bank statements, witnesses, all of it legal, all of it documented. She looked at Minho. You made one mistake. You thought being blind meant she was helpless. You forgot that blind people can still hear, can still think, can still plan. Minho turned to Mawusi. You were faking this whole time. Yes, you lied to me. You let our baby die. You do not get to talk to me about lying. His face went white. Mr. Cho stood up. I call for an emergency vote. First matter, the removal of Kang Minho from any and all positions within this company. Second, another board member said, criminal referral to the prosecutor's office for embezzlement and fraud. Third, said another, immediate dissolution of marriage based on contract violation. The votes went quickly. 12 yes votes, 0 no votes. Even Minho's father voted yes, his face hard as stone. Minho's mother left the room without looking at anyone. Her husband followed her. The other board members filed out slowly, some stopping to shake Mawusi's hand, others too shocked to speak. Finally, only Minho and Mawusi remained, with Adeze standing by the door. I gave you everything, Minho said. You gave me nothing but pain. I loved you. Mawusi looked at him and saw him clearly for the first time. Not the man she had wanted him to be, the man he actually was, small and cruel and ordinary. No, she said, you loved my board seat. You loved my father's legacy. You loved that I was too kind to see what you were doing, but you never loved me. I took care of you. You isolated me. You blamed me for a miscarriage you caused. You brought another woman into our home while I sat in the dark and listened. You were pretending to be blind. I was surviving you. Minho opened his mouth, but nothing came out. We are done, Mawusi said. The lawyers will contact you about the divorce. Do not call me. Do not come to the apartment. Take your things and leave. She walked past him to where Adeze waited. In the elevator going down, her phone rang 7 times. Minho's name on the screen. She declined every call. How do you feel? Adeze asked. Mawusi thought about it. Empty, but like good empty. Like I finally put down something heavy. You were incredible up there. I was angry. Angry looks good on you. They stepped out into the parking garage. Mawusi's legs felt strange, shaky, like she had run a long distance. Adeze took her arm. Come stay with me tonight, Adeze said. You should not be alone. Mawusi nodded. She did not trust her voice. That night she slept in Adeze's guest room and dreamed about falling. In the dream she fell and fell, but never hit the ground. When she woke up, her face was wet. The divorce took 3 months to finalize. The fraud charges took longer. Mawusi did not follow them closely. She signed what the lawyers told her to sign and tried to remember how to be a person again. It was harder than she expected. Some days she could not get out of bed. Other days she got up and got dressed and went to work and came home and realized she could not remember anything that happened. She was moving through her life like a ghost. The nightmares came every few nights, always the same. Falling down the stairs, lying on the marble, counting 1, 2, 3, 47. She would wake up gasping and have to remind herself where she was. That she was safe, that it was over, but it did not feel over. A daze made her see a therapist. The first session, Mawusi sat in silence for 40 minutes while the therapist waited. Finally, the therapist said, "You do not have to talk, but you do have to be here. That is the deal." "Why?" Mawusi asked. "Why what? Why do I have to be here?" "Because your friend loves you enough to force you, and because some part of you knows you need help, even if you do not want to admit it." Mawusi went back the next week, and the week after. Slowly, so slowly she barely noticed, she started talking. She talked about her mother dying when she was 19, about her father, who had tried so hard to be both parents and died before she could tell him he succeeded, about marrying Minho because she thought having a family would fill the empty spaces. She talked about the baby. That was the hardest part. Talking about those 4 months of hope, the tiny clothes she had started buying in secret, the names she had written down and crossed out and written again. "I wanted someone to love who would love me back," she said one afternoon. She was crying, but she did not care anymore. "I thought the baby would be that. someone who was mine completely. And when you lost the baby, the therapist said gently, you lost that hope. Yes, but you stayed with the man who caused it. Mawusi wiped her face. People keep asking me that, why I stayed. Like there is an answer that makes sense. Is there? I stayed because leaving meant admitting I had made a mistake. It meant being alone. It meant starting over with nothing. I stayed because I was tired and broken, and I did not have the strength to do anything else. And now I have the strength, but I do not know what to do with it. The therapist smiled. That is why you keep coming here, to figure that out. 6 months after the divorce, Mawusi was living in Adeye's spare room and working part-time at the company. She had stopped going to board meetings. Being in that building made her skin feel too tight. Adeye's never complained about her staying, never asked when she would leave, just made space in her life like Mawusi had always belonged there. One evening they were making dinner together, something they had started doing to give Mawusi a reason to get up and move around. I found something, Adeze said. She was chopping vegetables, not looking at Mawusi. What kind of something? A bookstore in Busan. The owner called, looking for some out-of-print law books. We got to talking. He seems nice. Why are you telling me this? Because he also has a very good collection of poetry, and you used to love poetry. I do not read anymore. Maybe you should start again. Adeze pulled out a piece of paper with an address. Just think about it. The train to Busan is only 2.5 hours. You could go for the day, get out of Seoul for a while. Mawusi took the paper but did not look at it. 3 weeks later, on a Wednesday morning, when the nightmares had been particularly bad and she could not stand being inside her own head anymore, she got on the train to Busan. She told herself she was just going to see the ocean, that she would not actually go to the bookstore, but she took the address with her anyway. Busan smelled different than Seoul, salt and fish and something green she could not name. The ocean was loud and endless, and it made her feel small in a way that was comforting instead of scary. She found the bookstore on a narrow street 3 blocks from the water. It was small and cramped, books piled everywhere in stacks that looked ready to fall. The door was propped open with a rock. Mawusi stood outside for a full minute before going in. Inside smelled like old paper and coffee and dust. Books covered every surface, organized in a way that made no sense. Poetry next to cookbooks, next to history, next to children's stories. A man stood behind the counter, writing something in a notebook when she entered. "Hello," he said. "Can I help you find something?" He was maybe 45, with gentle eyes and ink stains on his fingers. His voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt intentional instead of shy. "I am looking for, I do not know actually. My friend said you have poetry. Your friend is a daisy?" "Yes." "How did you know?" "She told me you might come. She described you very specifically." He smiled slightly. "She said you would look lost and defensive, and probably try to leave within 3 minutes." Despite everything, Mawusi almost laughed. "That sounds like her. I am Daeyun. This is my store." "Mawusi, I know," Adeze told me. He came out from behind the counter and walked to a shelf in the back corner. "She also told me what kind of poetry you might need." He pulled out a book, handed it to her. It was a Korean translation of Mary Oliver. Mawusi opened it to a random page and read the first line she saw. "You do not have to be good." Something in her chest cracked open. "You can sit anywhere," Daeyun said. "Stay as long as you like. I will make tea if you want it." Then he went back to his counter and his notebook and left her alone. Mawusi sat in a corner chair that was older than she was and read poetry for 3 hours. She cried twice and did not try to hide it. Daeyun brought her tea without asking and set it beside her and walked away without comment. When the light started fading, a little girl came down from the stairs at the back of the store. She was maybe 7, with serious eyes and paint on her hands. "Papa, I fixed the poetry section," she announced. Daeyun looked up. What did you fix? It was organized wrong. How was it organized? By author. That is boring. I did it by color now. Daeun sighed, but he was smiling. Jiyoon, you cannot organize books by color. Why not? Feelings have colors. Sad poems are blue. Happy poems are yellow. Complicated poems are purple. She noticed Mawusi then. Hello. Do you like poetry? I used to, Mawusi said. Then you still do. You just forgot for a while. That happens with things we love. We forget them when we are sad, but they wait for us. The simplicity of it, the pure confidence in this child's voice, made Mawusi want to cry again. What color is the poem you are reading? Jiyoon asked. Mawusi looked down at the Mary Oliver book. Purple, I think. See. Jiyoon looked at her father triumphantly. She understands my system. That night on the train back to Seoul, Mawusi called Adeze. Thank you, she said. For what? For knowing what I needed. Did you like it? Yes. I think I am going to go back. Good. You sound different. Different how? Less like someone who is underwater. The next Wednesday, Mawusi went back to the bookstore. Daeun greeted her with a small nod. Tea? He asked. Please. She browsed the shelves, bought 2 books, sat the same corner chair and read for hours, while Jiyoon did homework at the counter and occasionally read poems out loud to see if they were yellow or blue. The Wednesday after that, she went back again, and the one after that. On her 5th visit, Jiyoon asked her name, Mawusi. That is pretty. What does it mean? In my language, it means in the hands of God. Jiyoon thought about this very seriously. Are you? Am I what? In the hands of God? Mawusi paused. I do not know. Maybe I am in my own hands now. Jiyoon nodded, like this made perfect sense. I like that better. My hands are small, but they are mine. On her 7th visit, Daeun left a newspaper on the counter. It was open to an article about the Kim Company fraud case, about Mawusi and the trial in Minho going to prison for embezzlement. Mawusi saw it and went very still. Daeun was in the back room. She waited for him to come out and ask questions, to look at her differently. He came out carrying a box of new books, glanced at the paper, then at her. Would you like different tea today? He asked. I got jasmine. That was all. No questions, pity, no curiosity, just tea. The next week, Mawusi brought it up herself. They were sitting in the small area behind the counter, the lunch hour, when the store was always empty. You saw the article, she said. Yes. Do you want to know what happened? Only if you want to tell me. So she told him, not everything. Not the worst parts, but enough. The marriage, the miscarriage, the blindness, the pretending. Daeun listened the way he did everything, completely, without interruption. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You survived something that would break most people. I do not feel strong. Strength is not a feeling. It is a choice you make every morning. You are here. That is strength. It was the most he had said to her in 7 weeks. My wife died 6 years ago, he said. Cancer, Jim was 2. For a year after, I could not do anything. Could not work, could not parent, could barely breathe. My sister took Jiyoon. I lived on my couch. What changed? One day Jiyoon asked my sister when her papa was coming back, and I realized I had not actually died. I had just decided to stop living. So I came back, moved here, started over. Some days are still hard, but I keep choosing to be here. Does it get easier? Yes, slowly, then suddenly, then slowly again. It is not a straight line. Mawusi felt something loosen in her chest. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for coming back every Wednesday. Jiyoon asked if you are our friend now. What did you say? I said I hoped so. Mawusi smiled, really smiled. I hope so too. 4 months passed in a pattern of Wednesdays. Mawusi would take the early train to Busan, spend the day at the bookstore, and take the evening train back. Slowly, the bookstore stopped feeling like an escape and started feeling like something else. Something that might be home. June started saving questions for her all week. Miss Mawusi, why do some people hurt other people on purpose? I do not know. I think sometimes people are so hurt inside that they forget how to be kind. Did someone hurt you on purpose? Dae-yun looked up from his book. Ji-yoon, that is private. It is okay, Mawusi said. She looked at this serious 7-year-old who organized feelings by color. Yes. Someone hurt me very badly. Did you hurt them back? Not the same way. I just made sure that they could not hurt me anymore. Ji-yoon thought about this. That sounds smarter than revenge. Where did you learn about revenge? Books. I read a lot. Of course you do. On a rainy Wednesday in September, Ji-yoon asked a different question. Do you like my papa? Mawusi was shelving books. She stopped moving. Yes, he is very kind. No, I mean, do you like him? The way people like each other in the yellow poems. Ji-yoon Dae-yun called from behind the counter. His ears had gone red. What? I am just asking. Mawusi looked at Dae-yun across the store. He was very focused on his notebook, not looking up. She felt something warm and terrifying move through her chest. I like him very much, she said carefully. He is a good friend. Friends can become family, June said. Like she was explaining something obvious. That is what happened with Miss Kim downstairs. She was Papa's friend and now she is like my aunt. That is nice. We have room for more family. Papa said so. That evening when Mawusi was getting ready to leave for the train, Dae-yun walked her to the station. He had never done that before. They walked in silence for a while. The rain had stopped, but everything smelled wet and clean. I apologize for Yoon, he said finally. She is very direct. I like that about her. Nobody is dishonest when they are 7. She asked me this morning if you could come for dinner sometime, not at the store, upstairs, where we live. Mawusi's heart started beating faster. What did you tell her? I told her I would ask you, so I am asking when? Next Wednesday, if you want. No pressure. I want to. He smiled, small and genuine. Good. Ji-yoon will be very happy. Just Ji-yoon? He looked at her, then really looked. No, not just Ji-yoon. At the station before she got on the train, he said, I am glad you kept coming back. Me too. The whole train ride to Seoul, Mawusi felt like she was holding something fragile and precious. She called a Daisy. He invited me to dinner, she said. The bookstore man? Dae-yun, yes. And you said yes? I said yes. Adaze was quiet for a moment. How do you feel? Terrified. What if I am not ready? What if I break again? What if you do not? I do not know how to do this. How to trust someone again. You do not have to trust perfectly. You just have to try. And if he is worth anything, he will understand that. The next Wednesday, Mawusi brought flowers. Nothing expensive, just yellow daisies from a stand near the train station. She felt ridiculous carrying them. June opened the door to the apartment above the bookstore. You brought yellow flowers. Those are happy. I hope so. The apartment was small and filled with books and art that was clearly June's work. Drawings covered the refrigerator. A painting of the ocean took up half the wall. Nothing matched, but everything fit together. It felt lived in, loved, safe. Dinner was simple. Kimchi jjigae and rice and vegetables. When Dae-yun brought the pot to the table, Mawusi froze. Are you okay? He asked. She stared at the stew. My ex-husband's favorite dish. Dae-yun immediately moved to take it away. I can make something else. I have pasta, or I can order, or we can just eat rice and vegetables. Mawusi stopped him. No, wait, I do not want him to take this from me. He took enough. I will not let him have kimchi jjigae. She sat down, picked up her spoon, tasted it. It was good, different from how she used to make it, different enough. This is really good, she said. Dae-yun sat down slowly, watching her. Are you sure? I am sure. Ji-yoon talked through the entire meal about a poem she was writing about missing someone, but being okay at the same time. Can you miss someone and still be happy? She asked. Yes, Mawusi said. You can hold both feelings together, like purple. Purple is red and blue mixed. Exactly, like purple. After dinner, Ji-yoon fell asleep on the couch with a book on her chest. Dae-yun carried her to her room and came back to find Mawusi washing dishes. You do not have to do that, he said. I want to help. They washed dishes in comfortable silence. Their hands bumped in the soapy water, and both pretended not to notice. When the kitchen was clean, Dae-yun made tea, and they went out to the small balcony. The ocean was too far to see, but they could hear it, a constant whisper in the dark. "Can I ask you something?" Dae-yun said, Yes. "Why do you keep coming back? To the bookstore? To Busan? You could buy books anywhere." Mawusi thought about how to explain it. "Because you never needed me to be anything except myself. You did not need my story or my trauma or my victory. You just let me exist. Is that enough?" She looked at him. In the dim light from the kitchen, his face was gentle and open, and maybe a little scared. "It is everything," she said. He reached for her hand, stopped halfway. "Is this okay?" The question broke something open in her chest. He was asking, he was waiting for permission, he was giving her the choice. She took his hand. Yes. His hand was warm and rough from moving books and steady in a way that made her feel safe. They sat like that for a long time, holding hands and listening to the ocean and not needing to say anything else. Inside, Jishun had woken up and peeked around the doorway. She saw them holding hands and smiled so hard her face hurt. Then she went back to bed and added both of them to the picture she was drawing of her family. Mawusi started staying in Busan on weekends. Daisy helped her find a small apartment near the water, just 2 rooms and a kitchen. But it was hers and hers alone. No memories in the walls, no ghosts in the corners. She kept her board position, but did most of the work remotely. Seoul felt too small now, too full of old pain. Busan felt like breathing. She and Dae-yun did not rush anything. Some days they had coffee and talked for hours. Other days they worked in comfortable silence, her reading while he managed inventory. He never pushed, never asked for more than she could give. Ji-yoon adopted her completely. Started calling her Miss Mawusi like it was one word. Asked her to help with homework and read bedtime stories and give opinions on important matters like whether purple or blue was better for painting the ocean. "Purple," Mawusi said. "The ocean is complicated." 6 months after that first dinner, Mawusi woke up in her small apartment and realized she had slept through the whole night. No nightmares, no counting, just sleep and then morning. She called her therapist to tell her. "That is real progress," the therapist said. "Why now?" "Maybe because you finally feel safe." That afternoon, Mawusi went to the bookstore. Dae-hyun was helping a customer, but he smiled when he saw her. That smile still made her stomach flip. When the customer left, he came over to where she was reorganizing the poetry section. June had struck again, mixing everything by color. "She is never going to stop doing this," Mawusi said. "I know. I have accepted it." They worked together fixing the shelves. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. "June asked me something this morning," Dae-yun said. "What?" "She asked if you were going to live with us." Mawusi's hand stopped moving. "What did you say?" "I said that was up to you, that I could not make that choice for you." "What do you want?" He turned to look at her. "I want you to be happy. If that means staying in your own apartment, then I want that. If it means something else, then I want that too." "That is not an answer. The answer is I love you. I have loved you since the 3rd Wednesday, when you cried, reading Mary Oliver, and did not try to hide it. But I will not pressure you. You have had enough of people taking choices from you." Mawusi felt tears on her face. Good tears this time. "I love you too. I think I have for a while, but I was scared to say it." "Are you still scared?" "Yes, but I am saying it anyway." He kissed her then, gentle and careful, one hand on her face like she was something precious. She kissed him back and felt the last tight thing in her chest finally loosen. When they pulled apart, June was standing at the end of the aisle with the biggest smile Mawusi had ever seen. "I knew it," she yelled. "Papa, I told you. I told you she liked you." "Were you spying?" Dae-yun asked, but he was laughing. "I was investigating. That is different." "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough to know Miss Mawusi is definitely moving in with us." Mawusi Mawusi wiped her eyes. I have not decided that yet. You will, June said confidently. You love us, we love you. That is how families work. 3 months later, Mawusi moved into the apartment above the bookstore, not because she had to, because she wanted to. Because coming home to Dae-yoon, reading on the couch, and Jae-yoon doing homework at the table, felt more like home than anywhere she had ever lived. Her apartment in Seoul was gone, the marriage was over, Minho was in prison, his mother had stopped sending letters. All of that was finished. This was what came after, this small, loud life full of books and poetry organized by color, and a man who asked permission before reaching for her hand. 1 year after moving in, on a Thursday morning, Mawusi woke up and felt her hand shaking slightly. It still did that sometimes on Thursdays, probably always would. Dae-yoon was already up. She could smell coffee and hear him moving in the kitchen. She found him making breakfast, Ji-yoon already at the table, practicing her reading. Morning, he said, kissing her cheek. He saw her hand. Are you okay? It is. Thursday. He understood immediately, put down the spatula and took both her hands. I am here. I know. We are both here, Jian added without looking up from her book. You are not alone anymore. After breakfast, they opened the bookstore together. Mawusi made the tea while Dae-yoon unlocked the door and Jun rearranged the poetry section for the 100th time. A regular customer came in, an old woman who bought romance novels every week. How are you today, Mrs. Mawusi? She asked. Mawusi still was not used to being called that. She and Dae-yoon had gotten married quietly 3 months ago, just the three of them. And a daise and a judge, nothing fancy, nothing performed, just real. I am good, Mawusi said. How are you? Better now that I am here. This place always makes me happy. After the woman left with her books, Jiun said, Miss Mawusi, why do you still look sad on Thursdays? I am not sad exactly, just remembering. Remembering what? A time when I was very alone, when something very bad happened and no one came to help me. That sounds scary. It was, but I survived it. And now you are here with us. Yes, now I am here with you. June went back to her coloring, then looked up again. I am glad you survived. If you did not survive, you would not be here. And we would miss you, even though we would not know to miss you. The simple logic of it made Mawusi smile through tears. I am glad I survived too. That evening, after they closed the store, the three of them walked to the beach. It had become their routine. Jian collecting stones, Dae-yoon watching the horizon, Mawusi just breathing and being present. Jian found a purple stone and brought it to Mawusi. This one is for your collection. Why purple? Because you are purple. Complicated and beautiful, and both sad and happy at the same time. Mawusi took the stone. When did you get so wise? I was always wise. You just noticed now. Dae-yoon came and stood beside Mawusi close enough that their shoulders touched. Jae-yoon ran ahead chasing seagulls. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly. Everything that happened before? Mawusi thought about the question, really thought about it. I regret loving someone who used that love as a weapon. I regret the baby I lost. I regret the years I spent making myself smaller. But I do not regret surviving, and I do not regret what surviving taught me. What did it teach you? That I am stronger than I knew. That asking for help is not weakness. That some things break us, and we have to learn how to be broken and whole at the same time. Purple, he said. She laughed. Yes, purple. June came running back with a yellow stone. Papa, this one is for you because you are yellow, happy, and steady, and bright. What color are you? Dae-yoon asked. June thought very seriously. I am rainbow. All the colors because I have all the feelings. They walked home as the sun set. Three people who had found each other in the mess of loss and healing, and chosen to stay. That night after Yoon went to bed, Mawusi and Dae-yoon sat on their balcony with tea, like they did most nights. I got a letter today, Mawusi said, from Minho's mother. Dae-yoon's hand tightened on his cup. What did it say? I do not know. I did not open it. Are you going to? No. A daze is keeping it with all the others just in case. But I do not need to read it. I do not need her apology or her excuses or whatever she thinks will fix what they did. What do you need? She looked at him. This man who had given her space to heal, who had never rushed her or pushed her or demanded anything she could not give, who had loved her quietly and steadily until she was ready to love him back. I have what I need, she said, right here. He kissed her temple. Good, because I am not going anywhere. Later, lying in bed, Mawusi thought about the woman she used to be, the one who had stood at the end of an aisle in a white dress and married a man who would spend years breaking her. That woman had been hopeful and naive and so desperate to be loved that she accepted cruelty disguised as care. She did not hate that woman. That woman had done her best with what she knew. When she learned different, she became different. She became someone who could sit in darkness and plan. Someone who could take back what had been stolen. Someone who could survive. And then, harder still, someone who could learn to live again. In the morning, she woke before dawn. Thursdays still felt heavy sometimes, but they did not own her anymore. She got up quietly, careful not to wake Dae-yun, and went to the kitchen. She made coffee and stood at the window watching the sky change colors. Purple first, then pink, then gold. Dae-yun came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Could not sleep, just thinking. About what? About how far I have come. About the marble floor and the 47 minutes and the woman who answered his phone. About all of it. Does it still hurt? Sometimes. But different now, like an old scar. I know it is there, but it does not stop me from moving. Jian shuffled into the kitchen, hair everywhere, dragging her blanket. Why are we awake when the sun is barely awake? Because today is Thursday, Mawusi said, and Thursdays used to be hard for me. So now I wake up early and remind myself I survived them. Yoon climbed onto a chair. Can I have pancakes? Yes. Can they be purple? Pancakes cannot be purple. Everything can be purple if you try hard enough. Mawusi laughed and started making pancakes, while Dae-yun made more coffee, and Ji-yoon explained her theory about purple food. The sun came up fully, washing the kitchen in warm light, and Mawusi felt something she had not felt in years. Peace. Simple and complete, and entirely hers. She thought about Minho sometimes. In prison, his empire gone. Everything he had stolen, taken back. She did not feel satisfaction exactly. Just a quiet knowledge that justice had happened, and she had survived to see it. She thought about the baby sometimes too. The one who never got to be born. She had named them in her heart. Finally, after 2 years of being too afraid. Min-jun if a boy, Min-seo if a girl. She told them she was sorry, that she had tried to protect them, that she thought about them still. Mostly she thought about now, about this bookstore that smelled like the ocean, about Ji-yoon who organized feelings by color, about Dae-yun who loved her steadily and asked permission and never made her feel small, about the life she had built from the broken pieces, not perfect, sometimes still hard, but hers, completely and entirely hers. After breakfast they opened the store together. A young woman came in looking lost and sad and asked for book recommendations. Mawusi handed her the Mary Oliver collection. Start with this one. What is it about? Surviving and living, and remembering that you do not have to be good, you just have to be yourself. The woman bought the book and left, and Mawusi hoped it would help her, the way it had helped Mawusi. At lunch, Daisy called. How are you? She asked. I am good, really good. You sound different. Different how? Happy, you sound happy. I am. Is that allowed? It is required. I am very proud of you, you know. For what? For everything. For surviving. For fighting back. For not letting what he did define your whole life. For learning to be happy again. Mawusi felt tears on her face. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. That is what family does. We do not give up. That evening, the three of them walked to the beach again. The ocean was calm, the sky turning purple and gold. June found a smooth white stone and brought it to Mawusi. This one is special, she said. Why? Because it is every color and no color. It can be whatever you need it to be. Mawusi took the stone and held it tight. Thank you. They walked home as the stars came out. 3 people who had been broken in different ways and had learned how to be whole together. In the apartment, June went to bed. Without argument, tired from running on the beach. Yun read her a story about a girl who learned to fly. When he came back to the living room, Mawusi was sitting on the couch with her laptop. Work? He asked. Finishing a proposal. New partnership in West Africa, the one I first presented years ago. The one your ex-husband stole credit for. Yes, I am doing it again. My way this time. No one to take credit but me. He sat beside her. You are amazing. I am just doing what I should have been allowed to do all along. Still amazing. She closed the laptop and leaned against him. Do you ever think about what your life would be like if I had not walked into your store that day? Sometimes it would be quieter, more organized. June would have fewer ideas about poetry. Do you wish it was that way? He turned to look at her. Not even for a second. You are the best thing that has happened to us since we moved here. June says, you are the missing piece we did not know we were looking for. She said that? Last week. She made a drawing of our family. You are right in the middle, colored purple. Mawusi laughed and cried at the same time. I love you both so much. We love you too. Every complicated purple piece of you. That night, Mawusi dreamed, but not about falling. She dreamed about flying, about the ocean, about a little girl organizing stars by color. She woke up smiling. It was Friday, not Thursday. Just a regular, beautiful Friday. She got up and made coffee and looked out at the ocean and thought about everything she had survived to get here. The marble floor, the 47 minutes, the darkness, the pretending, the reckoning. All of it had led to this. To a small apartment above a bookstore, to a man who asked permission, to a child who thought feelings had colors, to a life that was hers. She heard Dae-yoon and Ji-yoon waking up, heard their voices, heard the particular music of her family starting their day. And she thought, this is what it means to survive and then live. This right here. Not the dramatic moments or the grand gestures or the perfect revenge. Just this. Coffee and morning light and people who love you. Books that wait patiently on shelves. An ocean that keeps moving. A child who believes complicated things are purple. A second chance that you build slowly from broken pieces. A life that belongs completely to you. Mawusi smiled and went to join her family. She had survived, and now, finally, she was living.